After the ban of social media in Nepal, a protest was planned by Gen Z on Discord. And that protest started off peacefully, but it eventually spiraled out of control. But it eventually resulted in Nepal's new prime minister being elected via Discord. Or so you thought, because this is not what's going on. Things go way deeper, and really, this is a story about how Discord and other social media were used to expose corruption, organize a protest, keep people safe, and restore order to the country of Nepal. Now, I want to point out, I am a Discord YouTuber, not a history professional, so things might be a little inaccurate, but surprisingly, I'm going to be better than normal media, I think, because whenever you read the headlines about this Nepal situation, the news is like, Gen Z is so cooked, if they don't have their TikTok, they're gonna riot. No, this whole social media ban isn't the cause of it, it's just the straw that broke the camel's back, because you need to understand Nepal's history. The biggest problem in Nepal right now is the fact that everyday Nepalese citizens have no jobs. And do you either starve and die, or do you literally work wherever you can so you can survive? Now, your only option for survival in Nepal, if you cannot find a job, is being a foreign worker. You go to some random country and you do the jobs that those people there don't want to do, which generally means they're the most shittiest, horrible jobs imaginable. And when you're desperate for a job, with desperation comes exploitation. I just wrote that down. I thought it was bars, so I needed to make sure I said that. Now, for all the football fans in the chat, it was revealed that 6,500 migrant workers have died in Qatar since the World Cup was awarded to them, because Qatar was this country that had nothing, and then they built this thing up with slave labor, and a whole bunch of people died. Now, in the description, I'm going to have a video by Vox Media that goes into a lot of detail about this, but they take away your passport, which means you can't leave the country, and the boss will also withhold the money you're getting paid. You cannot leave, and they will not pay you. This is modern day slavery. And here's the thing, Nepal doesn't really have an option, because if you analyze charts, 33% of Nepal's GDP, their economy, is fueled by remittances, which is money that is sent from foreign workers into Nepal. Nepal relies on all these people doing these horrible jobs to keep the country afloat. And what this has resulted in is that the average income is $1,400 for a year. So to put it simply, people are struggling in Nepal. And you see this dude, he's also struggling. He's struggling to become Nepal's next top influencer. Now here's the thing, Nepal is a very corrupt country, and usually when it comes to government corruption, you have to look at these old wrinkled testicles and be like, yeah, this guy doesn't look rich enough to afford plastic surgery to make him look like a reptile in a skin suit. You know, it's hard to tell how corrupt these people are. But then the magic of TikTok, Instagram, and clout chasing became the norm. This is a kid of one of the Nepalese politicians. He's got a tacky watch on and these god-awful, ugly in shoes. This dude's whole entire fit is probably $20,000, and he just ends up looking like a twink that goes to Oxford or something. Like, this is definitely bottom energy that I'm getting from this. So really worth the money. This dude posted this on Instagram. He's like, yeah, daddy gave me money, and look at this Christmas tree. The amount of boxes on this Christmas tree is probably like $40,000 worth of shit. So that's basically how much money you'd make if you worked until you died in Nepal. Now, it turns out our little Oxford twink here isn't the only person that is being exposed on the internet, because it turns out Nepal's citizens launched a hashtag of #Nepo Kids, where people started sharing everything all these government kids would do. Oh my goodness, she's doing a TikTok dance. That's not slavery. What are you doing? There's this government kid, Bali tour, ATV private helicopter tour. Oh my gosh. Look at all these places we're going to. It's so fun with my dad. And there are even TikTok profiles and Instagram profiles that focus on all of these Nepo kids from Nepal. Like this person here who has a 22,000 Great British pounds Hermes bag. Get ready with me, the car meet 2.0. Everyone else in Nepal is like, get ready with me, going to die on the FIFA construction project 2.0. And my favorite part about this is that these people are constantly being exposed, and when you try looking up their Instagram profiles, you can't find any of their accounts because they deleted it or privated it. These guys have no shame. So while they're hiding all their accounts, we have this one chick here who decided, oh my gosh, I can get popular off this. And that's right, Looney Tunes. Yes, I wish there was a plan B involved in this birth. But the internet does what the internet does best. Hold on, that's a spoiler for what's coming up next. It says she looked like Fiona. And while all these rich kids are getting cyberbullied on the internet, they started banning social media. Now, the thing that a lot of people get wrong about this is that this social media ban isn't a direct cause and effect of this Nepo Kids campaign. In fact, for months, the Nepalese government has been trying to push their new social media bill. Now, this bill has two purposes. One of them is to get more money from these social media companies. They will force social media platforms like Instagram and YouTube to have an office in Nepal. And the whole point is that if they make money, they get taxed by the government through their digital services tax and their value-added tax rules, aka more money for government. And then that money would go to the Instagram kids, so I guess it's just a full circle at this point. But the second point of this bill, which is way more controversial, is for supervision and monitoring. And it is the most corrupt and blatant version of censorship in a bill I have seen. But just to give you a little sample, conditions that need to be followed by the social media companies are to ensure that the platform does not disseminate content that harms Nepal's sovereignty, territorial integrity, national security, national unity, independence, dignity or national interest, or that incites social, cultural, or religious disharmony, aka a protest. This is basically if the government doesn't like what someone is posting, you are forced to take it down. And they try to make it seem like a good bill where it's like they don't allow you to do cyberbullying, which, by the way, if you do cyberbully, you can go to jail for 2 years or you can get a fine of 300,000 Nepalese rupees or 3 lakh. Oh, and by the way, that whole Nepo Kids tag where you're figuring out and looking at people's social media, that is considered cyber stalking. Now, who would have thunk it, boys? But all the other social media companies are like, go f yourself. So they ban social media. Now, a lot of the slop news networks are like, the Gen Z can't survive without their TikToks. They're going crazy. They're lighting cars on fire. But social media in Nepal is used not only to expose this corruption with those Nepo Kids and the Oxford twink, but it's also a place to find jobs. Instead of working for slavery, you have another option of working online. And when you ban social media, there's a chance that you just took away a whole bunch of Gen Z people's jobs. And then we return back to square one, where you need to work to make money to survive, and you either die or do you fight back? Now, this is Sudan Garung, name on the screen because I can't pronounce shit. But this guy is an ex-DJ. What happened is that in 2015, he had a son that died in the Nepal earthquakes. And from there on out, he started a non-government organization, an NGO called Hami Nepal, which is We Nepal. And he wanted to start a protest on September 8th, where Gen Z would stand up and say, enough is enough. Our country is corrupt and we are going to fight. Now, the interesting thing about this protest is that it's not centralized.
So do not think that the Hami Nepal is taking the lead. You guys are taking the lead. We are just organizing and managing the protest so that you can be safe.
But to organize these protests, they did it in Gen Z fashion. They used the femboy furry-filled chat app Discord.
Welcome to the official Discord server of Youth Against Corruption.
Now, despite people's anger of these Nepo Kids having a Christmas tree that is greater than the net worth of someone in Nepal, despite how up that is, they want to keep everything peaceful.
And I don't want anyone to be unsafe. Please make sure that you are safe. I know the anger is there, the frustration is there, but we need to be wise.
And ladies and gentlemen, it is time to start the protests. On September 8th, the protests started off very peacefully. People marching down the streets, showing that they will not stand for corruption any longer. They want to reform this country. And the interesting thing I want to point out is that throughout these protests, everyone has a phone. This dude is on the back of a bike, double phoned up for redundancy. He's got 2 phones. But as you can see, things, they were peaceful at first, but they started to get a little bit more rowdy. People are arguing with some of the police. Tensions are escalating. In fact, there's this one video of this dude trying to hit a brick at a traffic light, and either he is the weakest dude I've ever seen, or he's hesitant. You can see he's holding back his punches because he's not really sure. He's like, am I supposed to be doing this? And the answer is no. Because according to an article by Al Jazeera, they have a quote saying, during the first few hours, the protest went as planned until some external forces forces and political party cadres joined in on the protest and agitated the armed forces and pelted stones. But there's people jumping into government property, climbing over walls to hit trees with sticks, but then also when the police showed up, they would start trying to scrap with the police. But the people that are doing this sort of destruction and causing this havoc, there's theories all over the internet, and there's a ton of misinformation as well. But there's theories of this being government entities, people paid by external governments meant to destabilize Nepal. These could be opportunists trying to make things worse for their own political gain, or this could just be people angry and trying to get a way to get their anger out. There's no exact answer on what happened, but this was not part of the protest. Because during the protest, people started getting more and more rowdy. Then the police started throwing out tear gas to disperse crowds, and that escalated further and further. People would throw tear gas back, throw rocks at the police, and eventually the police brought out water cannons to disperse crowds. But things only get worse. And the problem here is that it's not the police trying to de-escalate the riots, they're just bringing out more and more weaponry, because they start bringing out rubber bullets. Now, rubber bullets are meant as less lethal. They are still considered lethal. So you need to be careful where you hit someone with these, because if you hit them in anywhere sensitive, it genuinely could be lethal. And there's a video here, which I am going to pause, because if I play the video, it is not allowed on YouTube. But you can see there's this dude here, and there are police at the fence. And this guy, he gets domed by a rubber bullet. But the second there was that loud bang from the rubber bullet being shot and this dude hitting the ground, the protest turned into a flat-out riot. But then the police escalated it one more time. They used real bullets. This is just a guy in his school uniform. He's in a small crowd. He's not even at the front lines of the riot. He's not causing any damage. And seconds later, he's just dropped. The police were firing indiscriminately within the crowd, and all hell broke loose. It wasn't like a war zone out there. It was a war zone. Now, I can't show you exactly what I'm going to talk about, but there are videos of people that are fatally wounded. There's a video of this one young adult in backpack and school outfit being carried by his hands and feet, and people are rushing and screaming ambulance to try and get help for this dude, but it is clearly way too late. And even if he made it to the hospital, things wouldn't be better, because according to a BBC article talking about this, they had a quote from an official of one of the hospitals, and they said that tear gas entered the hospital, making it difficult for doctors to work on any of the injured patients. The hospitals are just a complete clusterfuck. And throughout that whole entire day, no one was talking on Discord because the chaos just happened so fast that people didn't know what to do. But there was an announcement made. Today, our nation witnessed the unthinkable. Students still in their school uniforms were brutally killed. We came together for a peaceful protest, yet the government has shown that instead of listening to the voice of its youth, it would rather silence us with violence. Everyone in Nepal now knew that the police did the unthinkable. And with resignations of the Home Minister, in the evening, the government eventually lifted the social media ban. Now again, if this was all just about social media, this protest would be over. But it's about corruption, and it's not just about corruption anymore. There is a bigger problem, and the Discord server foreshadowed what would happen next. This protest is no longer just about corruption. It's about demanding accountability for the innocent lives that were lost today. A government that fails to protect its people has no right to govern this country. Our agenda has shifted. This is now bigger than corruption. It is not merely a fight against corruption. It's a fight for our nation itself. Our demands are clear and non-negotiable. First, the immediate resignation of the government. Second, the resignation of all ministers across every province. Third, swift and uncompromised prosecution of those who ordered the shooting of our innocent brothers and sisters. And fourth, the formation of an interim government led by the youth with a vision for a just and accountable future. This is not just a demand, this is the voice of a generation, and it will not be silenced. Now again, the point of these protests are to be peaceful, but people who wanted to cause damage, the opportunists, the people that wanted to get their anger out, they started using Discord to communicate calls for violence. They wanted to target 2 government offices. People saying to burn the offices down, and someone said even to attack the airport. Now, the airport is an important part of the story because the Prime Minister and other politicians were fleeing to the airport, and in the Discord server, people were organizing attacks on the airport, destroy the airport runways and burn down planes. Guys, if you have fireworks, please use them near the airport. If you have a drone, please fly it at every international and domestic airport. Kill all politicians politicians. Bro, just burn everything. The Discord server is in complete anarchy, and there's people saying, guys, come home, stop the protest, enough is enough. Peacefully return, step back and go home. More violence isn't going to make things better. And the important thing you need to take away from this is that the Discord server, these people's messages are what's going on in people's heads. And with all this anger, on September 9th, a new protest was being formed. This is not a moment to stand aside. This is a moment to rise. Today, we gather again, shoulder to shoulder, voices as one. And the protest was to take place in Meitagar. I'm white as white bread. I'm going to mispronounce that. I apologize. But at 11 p.m., a sit-down, peaceful protest. Except there was another announcement. Police are currently blocking access to Meitagar. If you are planning to join the peaceful sit-down protest, please do not go there right now. We are closely monitoring the situation and will update you as soon as possible. But things got worse. There was an emergency alert that they have confirmed reports of a shoot-on-site order in the Meitagar area. A shoot-on-site order for the peaceful protest. But with the accumulation of people being angry about corruption, the death of 19 people in the protest, the emotions boiled over and all hell broke loose. Because today was arson day. There's even videos of people putting gasoline on tires to set them on fire, and they almost blow themselves up. There's videos of people going inside of buildings while there's a fire in the building. And while all hell is breaking loose, in the Discord server, they're trying to contain the protest and trying to simmer things down. Everyone, do not burn any government office. Burning government offices means burning corruption files. It's clear that this protest has been hijacked by people that want to cause destruction. But then we get some good news. Because an announcement was made that KP Oli, the Prime Minister, has officially resigned from his post.
The youth has won the protest, won over the country. The future is ours. I really want to thank every one of you. I know we are still safe here.
The problem, though, is that the riots still continued. Because remember in the Discord server, they wanted to attack the politicians. There's videos of politicians being run down in the street, and they chased some dude into the river and kept chasing him while he was in the river. And do you remember Fiona, who was taking all these selfies? Yes, queen. Well, unfortunately, her yes, queen energy died down because her dad got stripped naked in the riots and dragged out of his house. Yes, queen, that thong looks so good on you, honey. And while this is happening, Hami Nepal in the Discord server is pinging everyone, pleading them to stop. The government has already fallen. It's time to back off and end the destruction. Every act of violence and every life lost only brings more pain, and in the end, we will be the ones who suffer and rebuild. Please stop this madness. But the madness did not stop. There's videos of people breaking into police buildings, this dude dressing as a policeman, kicking his feet up on the desk. In fact, there's this video of this dude driving a motorcycle into a fire outside of a police station, which was probably a stolen motorcycle. In fact, there's videos of people stealing vehicles and then partying on top of them. They even stole an excavator and then paraded it down the street. But the damage and destruction didn't just start at the police stations and the government buildings. It continued on with people setting prisons on fire. In fact, there were 13,500 prisoners that escaped during these riots. The people that are causing this damage are trying to make things worse. This is not the initial point of the protests. And with all of the chaos going on, we have people stealing anything and everything. Food, tools, toys, and there's some I just saw this, I had to throw it in here, but there's some dude with an RGB mini bike who stole this. A lot of people are just taking advantage of the chaos for their own personal gain. Except that wasn't everyone. There's videos of other Nepalese citizens that are protesting, telling other people to put it back. In fact, there's a video of this dude who stole a whole bunch of appliances and a TV, and he got slapped and punished by a whole bunch of people. Real people who wanted the best for Nepal saw the irony of you can't fight corruption with corruption by stealing from companies. And everyone that was doing this was constantly being recorded because everyone had a cell phone, which is important for later. But then also there was people who were just recording themselves stealing because it was funny. There were kids who went into a school and stole laptops, but it's an HP laptop, so it literally isn't even worth your time stealing. That thing is a piece of shit. There's people stealing cars and then almost running people over and then getting a new car and crashing it into a pile of garbage because yes. But then there was also old people who broke into a jewelry store to try and get their payday 2 fixin', I guess. There's videos of people breaking into banks and stealing money. In fact, there's this one video of this kid flexing the money that he stole. He's doing the net spend dance. Life imitates art. There was a luxury hotel in the area, the Hilton Hotel, and people broke into the luxury hotel. And this is like the weirdest thing I have ever seen. But you have all this damage and destruction, and then you get to the very top, and it's just this uber luxury rooftop pool pool and bar. It is like the wealth disparity is nuts. And then they decided to loot a whole bunch of alcohol. And that was a very common thing. There's a lot of people just stealing alcohol, but where things get really bad is that there are videos of people walking off with looted guns that they got from the police station. There's videos of people parading down the street with guns. There's videos of people who have guns, but clearly have no idea how to use them safely. There's people shooting guns while on the back of motorbikes. And when you have 13,500 inmates breaking free from jail, you have alcohol everywhere and a bunch of guns everywhere with a whole bunch of angry people, it is genuinely a miracle that there wasn't a massacre in Nepal. But of course, this whole protest started because of those Gen Z kids wanting to be influencers, and while all this destruction is happening, this dude has got to get that Instagram photo of him being absolutely jacked. He looks so tough. But going back to the Discord server was meant to organize the protest, but also meant to keep people safe from the violence of the riots. Because there was announcements made like an emergency alert, everyone return back immediately from Chabahil. Again, white bread, I cannot pronounce this properly. There's a major security breach in the area. If any of our Gen Z brothers and sisters are there, please go home at once. Your safety comes first. Do not take the risks. And just as things were looking horribly sour, again, guns everywhere, angry people, alcohol, a recipe for disaster, there was one more announcement that came in that started to change the tide of this riot. At everyone, Sudan Garung has spoken with the chief, the army chief, and we have allocated the army for the rescue. The roads are severely blocked and extremely difficult to pass for the army. Without open routes, rescue operations cannot reach the people who need them the most. We urgently need every possible hand to help clear the roads. Only then can the army personnel reach the affected areas with critical support. This is not the time to stand aside. Your effort today can save countless lives. So Discord is now being used as a way to restore peace. Now, the thing with this announcement that you need some context on is that usually when you think the army going in to stop a protest, you usually think it's a bad thing. It's going to escalate and things are going to get worse. But the thing with the Nepali army is that they are very well respected in Nepal. And considering that the army chief vowed to protect citizens and urge protesters to pursue a peaceful resolution, for all of the confusion and chaos, there was finally some sort of direction. The army was going to come in and calm things down. And that's exactly what happened. On September 10th, if you went outside, there were army forces that were out patrolling the streets. If you needed help, you'd call for the army and they would help you out. People were clearing out roads, allowing the army to come in. There was also news articles where 27 people were arrested for looting, arson, destructive activities. They recovered burnt money. Like this is a crazy photo, but it's literally money that is burnt from the arson attacks. They recovered guns and even more guns. There's other news reports of 73 weapons being recovered and 303 of those escaped inmates being captured. At this point, the riots have died down and we avoided the worst possible outcome. And on September 10th, this was the day the Discord poll happened. So to give you some context, there was a 5-hour discussion on Discord. They had a Discord stage where a whole bunch of people were chatting in it, and it wasn't just in Discord, it was also being live streamed on YouTube and other social media platforms. A lot of Gen Z was aware of this Discord server and these negotiations happening. But then there was a poll that was released with the question, who now? Now, the thing that like most media messes up is people think this is an election for the new president. Like, forgive me, my thumbnail is a little bit clickbaity, but people think it's like a Discord poll to pick the new prime minister. But this is actually a poll to pick a representative for Gen Z because the army and the government wanted to meet with someone that would understand the frustrations of Gen Z. And out of the poll, we have the options of Sushila Karki, who was chosen, a couple other people, and most notably, random Nepali. Now, when I first read this, I thought they just meant literally anyone. Everyone sucks in terms of being a politician. They just wanted some random Nepali dude. Turns out he's actually a YouTuber. It'd be hilarious though if it was just like, yeah, just pick some random dude off the street. But on Discord, they chose Sushila Karki to be the representative. Now, it's not just the Discord poll that chose this woman, because Sushila Karki was well respected by a lot of Gen Z already. She's someone who was the former Chief Justice. She has plenty of cases where she fought corruption and inequality. She was very much considered the person to solve this problem, and she was generally pretty politically neutral. For most people in Nepal, it was universally agreed that she would be the person that has the skill set to get done. So she was chosen as the representative for Gen Z to help solve these issues. But with Sushila being chosen, would things improve? And on September 11th, Hami Nepal made a final post saying, "This is our final warning to the president. The decision-making process has already taken far too long, and we are now at a critical stage of now or never. Any further delays risk catastrophic consequences. consequences. Remember, the army has stepped in to restore peace, but nothing has really changed except the prime minister stepping down. And our man here, he had his whole entire story arc, to be completely honest, because what he did next is he officially entered the government building to restore peace and get what Gen Z wanted. But when he entered the government building, he wasn't just met with open arms, yay, let's fix everything. No, instead, he has been waiting in the government office for 9 hours because the president has not yet arrived. They aren't taking things seriously, and Sudang's stance is clear. He will not speak with staff or intermediaries. He will only meet directly with the president, and he refuses to do any one-on-one discussion. And from there, he started his protest. Sudang Garung has taken a stand. He will not leave the government building until Gen Z team is allowed to stand with him in a meeting with the president. He has vowed that he will not move until Nepal has a new prime minister. He will not drink even a drop of water from the government building, and his fast has begun. He was not going to leave the government building, and he was going to starve himself if it meant peace for Nepal. Then comes September 12th. It happened. All the associated VIPs, security personnel, and diplomats have entered the government building to swear in a new prime minister. After that, the parliament was dissolved, and finally, Sushila Karki, the person who won the Discord poll, eventually got inaugurated as the interim prime minister. And her goal is to remain the prime minister until the true elections in March 2026. But they finally have someone at the helm of the government that is meant to stop corruption and work in Gen Z's best interests. But that doesn't mean everything is fixed. There are still permanent damages that were a consequence of these protests and riots. People still at the end of the day lost their lives. But the Youths Against Corruption Discord server had one final purpose. They had a channel called the Protest Log, and the point of this channel is to collect photos and videos from past protests to help identify and take action against those who did wrong. For example, there's this video of this dude just running and flipping a street vendor's food. Hey, at least his shirt says art creation. In fact, some of these are just perfect Gen Z material. Like, just watch this video, for example. Like, they literally have a meme song. It's beautiful. But for the people that want the best in Nepal, they are actively going through and getting videos of people looting, stealing, setting things on fire, and trying to publicly shame them and figure out who they are so that Nepal has justice. Not only is Nepal's Gen Z trying to stop corruption of the government, but they also want to punish the people who did wrong to their country to make Nepal as a country stronger. But anyways, gamers, for now, that's all I got, and hopefully I did a good job at like explaining everything in a way so it doesn't just boil down into they banned the TikTok and now the kids rioted. But of course, please look in the comments because there will be people that will clarify things, maybe some corrections, their own personal stories. But that's all I got, gamers. Bye bye, love you. Mwah!